All right. Obviously, extremely proud of our guys and how they continue to battle and find a way. Tonight, obviously, the obvious stat is the ability to make 13 threes. But to be able to adjust to some things and get better defensively for the most part as the game went on, I thought was key, even though we couldn't shut the door when we were up 10 or 12. For them to be able to keep finding ways, and it comes from different people in different fashions. Obviously, with Jordan Hill, his boost of threes off the bench, and Vito with how he played after coming back after not starting and now be back in the lineup. So just proud of the guys of how they've battled and continue to work, and how they've grown together as a team. I think that's been the biggest thing that I see from the inside is, a lot is made of the X's and O's and the bench going a little deeper, and but this group chemistry and cohesiveness, as you've heard me say before, has grown immensely over the last 7 or 8 weeks. With that, I'll take your questions.
Jeff.
Greg, Thad said that their number one defensive priority was to try to really bring help down low, but they just didn't get out quick enough to the three-point shooters. Did you anticipate that would be their game plan going in? Did that contribute to the ability to hit those threes tonight?
Yeah, I think anytime, obviously if you have watched us over the last 3 or 4 games, we've emphasized touching the post, and we've gotten the free throw line a lot. But the other thing I thought, from our standpoint, knowing that there was going to be a shot blocker around the rim a lot, whether it be Thompson or Giddens, that we were going to have some kick-out opportunities if they were going to collapse that much. I thought for the most part the threes we did take were pretty good ones. There was a few that I think we would like to have back, but I told them at halftime we're taking too many threes. We need to get the free throw line more, and obviously we didn't take as many in the second half, but the ones we hit were big and very timely, and then we were able to get to the bonus quicker in the second half, and obviously play at the line down the stretch.
Back.
You've said before that sometimes you say to get Nigel the ball and get out of the way. They made a few comebacks and you were able to hold them off, and it seemed like a few times it was get Nigel the ball and get out of the way. Would you agree?
Well, that's just how it kind of played into itself. We every time out, we had a couple specials called here and there, but for the most part, we just played through straight swing, and he found his way there. And he's very good at finding spots, and I thought he did a pretty good job of finding guys too. He found Vito once on a rim run. He was able to stay with the play and got to the free throw line, but he can make a lot of things happen from there. To be able to put the ball in one of your better players' hands that close to the basket obviously puts pressure on the defense just from himself, but also his vision and his unselfishness to be able to find people. And I thought we did a good job of spreading the floor. We didn't get too bunched up. We did a good job of running to the rim on the ball side and taking that extra help guy away, or at least making him have to make a decision. So from that standpoint, it may have looked like get Nigel the ball, but that was just within the flow of what we do offensively.
Silly in the back.
Speaking of Nigel, Greg, going into half, he only had 3 points. What message did you give him at half, and what started everything that happened to him in the second half?
You're 1 for 7, and you haven't taken a shot inside 17 feet. That's all I said. And he goes, "Got you, coach." And the whole message to the whole team was just, we need to touch the post more. We need to get the free throw line. If the threes are there, great. But I didn't like shooting 18 threes in a half, because I know sometimes they can dry up. And our forte, or how this team has kind of grown, it's from the inside out. And to be able to knock down threes is great, because there's times when you're going to need that. But also there's times when you're not going to be able to go 13 for 27, and we have to be sure that we stay true to who we are.
Jeff.
Greg, I don't know if you would agree with this, but ever since Vito had the situation with the upper body thing, I don't know if he can do as much physically. Is he playing more under control in the last couple of games and not trying to do too much, in part because physically he's not right?
I think at times you can have injuries will slow people down and get them to play a little bit more within themselves. Obviously, you didn't see when I took him out in the first half. My message to him there was it wasn't anything to do with playing under control there. Shot selection waned a little bit, along with some other things, blocking out, the simple things. So he got that message and made sure in the second half that he stayed within himself and within what's best for this team. That's really what it boils down to. step back and look at it. It's not what's best for you, what's best for this team. And they're growing in the right direction. He's one that's taken steps forward.
Tom.
Greg, I know the postseason's a long way off, but what does it mean to be able to beat teams like this and a couple of the other teams you beat that are ahead of you in the standings and maybe in the eyes of the NCAA tournament?
Well, it's way too early because we've got a long ways to go. And all we ever approach it in any year, we've never worried about what could happen down the road. It's always about what's next. Tonight's victory is nice because our team came together and we found a different way to win. It's also nice because you're playing against a program that is very well established with Coach Mata, who I've known for a long time. So from that standpoint, you know you're playing against a very good program, a very well coached team, and whatever happens down the road, we'll deal with that when we get to that point. But we've got a long ways to go before we ever get into that mindset. This team has so many things that we can get better at on both ends of the floor, and we're not anywhere near where we can be. We've got a lot of ground to make up, and we're closing fast. But like I said, there's so many things that I pick out. I already know, not for me, not even have to watch the film of things we've got to improve upon immediately.
Over on the right.
Jaquan Lyle for them had a triple-double 5 games ago, and since then he's been off and he's lost a starting spot. I wonder, when you prepared for Ohio State, which Jaquan Lyle you prepared for?
The one that showed up tonight. I know how good a player he is. And the thing with that is we talk a lot about not giving a team confidence or an individual confidence. And right off the bat, we let him go off the first ball screen he came off of and go right to the rim. And we had a miscommunication and a mistake there made on handling the ball screen. And I've always talked about making sure that, excuse me, we don't give any players an easy basket to get their confidence going. That was the easiest basket he had all night. But then he hits a step-back 3, then he hits a 3 in transition, and it got his motor going a little bit. And that was our fault from the first one because we gave the first couple were too easy. And good players do that. They feed off that, and then they get a couple easy ones. We have players that do that. Nigel and Bronson, Ethan does that. You get a couple easy ones, then the harder ones become simpler. And then you're hitting shots with guys in your face, step backs, those type of things. So we need to do a better job of making sure any player doesn't get any type of confidence-building play.
Gennaro.
Greg, Nigel was pretty hard on himself last month when you guys were struggling, and I'm wondering how you think he's handled himself since then, and especially how he's developed these last 5 games.
Well, he's had a lot to adjust to. What walked out of the program last year with those 5 guys and how much experience that was. So his role not only changed on the court in terms of stepping up the ladder to become one of the marquee guys, but also the biggest change for him was in the locker room. And Bronson went through the same thing, or is going through the same thing. And something that we talked about back in August, that will be as big or as bigger challenge than anything you see on the floor of how you lead in the locker room. And I think that's one thing Nigel, along with Bronson, Zach to some extent, are learning and growing and developing in that leadership ability. And that's starting to show on the floor, and it's also starting to show in terms of what he's been able to do for the other guys and how he's been able to show an example of how to practice, how to play, how to carry yourself. Some of the best leaders we've had here have been people of very few words and don't have to say a whole lot. So I think the biggest thing for him is he's become a better leader. And by becoming a better leader, he's become a better player himself. So that's neat to see. I mean, that's why you do this, and it's really at the root of it. You want to see kids grow and develop, and he's definitely stepping in the right direction.
Jim.
Greg, it's not like you're going to hit 13 threes every night, but do you think the way teams are playing you now, that doing this was important just to kind of put that out there and prove that you guys can shoot from the perimeter that way?
I've always thought we had some pretty decent shooters, and I'm not sure if we're a off-the-run catch-and-shoot team. But I thought, watching them in practice, the guys that have made threes, I don't think there was any surprises with guys that made threes tonight. You'd like to try to rely on it just because they can dry up, and you can be cold from there, and then what do you fall back on? So I think from that standpoint, it's good that we're able to knock some down. and know that if we do have open looks, and some of them were because the post was doubled or we got a lot of help. Other times it was ball reversal, drive and kick, make a play out of the post, and they turn their head, and we're getting better at spotting up and finding gaps away from the ball and making ourselves available, not just standing and watching the player in the post play one-on-one. So hopefully, as we evolve as a team offensively, that can become a bigger part of what we do, but also something we don't want to have to live and die with.
Anything else for Coach? All right.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Greg.